cat interviews at Uber, Confluent, Indeed, and many more companies. I've seen it all. After countless hours on the other side of the table, I know exactly what top companies are looking for, especially in LLD. In this course, I'll share the insider blueprints, what to focus on, especially key design patterns, how much multi-threading, very important, counter question, traps, and how to tackle them confidently. This course is structured, practical, and tailored on what companies are looking for right now. Let's get you interview ready right now.
Hi guys, good morning. Welcome back to a new video. Ki hal chal? I hope you guys are doing good. In this, we're gonna continue ahead with our LLD series, and now we are going ahead with parking lot system. Now, I highly recommend, even if you're watching it right now for this video only, but I highly recommend go and follow the sequence because there are many tips and tricks which I don't repeat every time. I'll give a glimpse of how and what I said in last video, but I'll not explain entirely and thoroughly. So, just giving a quick idea how this video will go about. So, firstly, we'll see what exactly is the parking lot system, right? Then we'll go on to the actual interview setting in which how you will say, how you will communicate, how what you will tell, what sequence you might follow. Again, this is always a might. It's your responsibility to take or not take whatever I'm telling. But again, obviously, the sequence will help you keep things short, simple, concise, and also will help you remember what exactly you have to tell. Now, again, then we'll discuss a couple of design patterns, how we can make easily a corresponding class diagram. Whenever I say make, I always refer that writing the corresponding classes and linking them with each other. Then we will discuss the entire code, how we can go through it, how we can actually write the corresponding code, and then we will have its main things and main functions, main again all the corresponding codes. Then we'll go to the extensibility portion in which we will have multiple flows for a parking. Again, I'll tell what exactly that is, and then we'll discuss its code and discuss other design pattern builder and stuff and integrate that, and then finally wrap up with the conclusion. Cool. Let's start off with the actual video and saying what exactly is a parking lot system. Now, obviously, you must have visited malls or all the big places. You must have seen that a parking lot system basically is used for parking the cars, or I should say, rather vehicles. Now, whenever you enter, you get some ticket, and whenever you exit, you have to pay. Usually, this is how it goes that you have some payment system or some payment which happens, which is that the parking person will collect the payment after you are exiting, like as you're exiting. And also that parking, because now you have to design a parking lot system. So you are a manager. You're not the customer who just came in and just all that. You have to think of in terms of manager, that you're the parking lot system manager. So you have to also manage spaces and how different vehicles will be allotted to different spaces. All that you have to manage for different type of vehicles. So, what exactly you should know about a parking lot system? Again, this is right now I'm saying the interview hasn't started yet, but this is knowledge which you should ideally have before even starting the interview. So, obviously, the parking lot will have multiple slots where all the vehicles will be parked. Will be parked. I can have different type of vehicles. I can have bike, car, truck. I can have auto. I can have cycle. I can have different kind of types of vehicles, which obviously I will have different type of spots as well, or different slot sizes as well to park these different kind of vehicles. And also, each vehicle will get a parking ticket, and the system should calculate the parking fees. Again, it can be anything, because right now, again, I'm not sure if any of you guys have parked your vehicle in an airport parking. So if okay, even if you haven't, just go and write on Google airport parking and just see how their fares are designed. Like the pricing of airport parking is very dynamic. Like like on some days it is very much like you have a club package, you have a days package, you have hourly package. Like the pay, the fees of airport parking is literally the one which I should highly recommend that you go and check it out. Now, so again, we just take a simple one, let's say duration of stay or maybe vehicle type that might define the corresponding parking fee. Although the parking fee can be very variable, and that's the reason whenever the things are very variable or uncertain of maybe let's say I want to add a festival fee. That okay, like usually how these Zomato and all that websites just add a festival fee and all that stuff. You can maybe add a different fee altogether as well. Now, this is when the vehicle would have come up, but obviously there's a must-have thing that while we're exiting, we have to pay. So we can have different payment strategy as well, that the person can pay via cash, card, UPI, credit card, debit card, maybe PayPal, and so on and so forth. And only when the payment is successful, the vehicle will empty or the vehicle will go out from the parking and I will make the slot free. This is roughly the idea which you should have. And obviously, we should make sure that we don't have some illegal actions. Illegal actions like I cannot park in an already parked space, else I will not be charging correctly to the folks. And I like the vehicles cannot vacate without payment. It's just that it is like the entire synchronization is maintained kind of. Now come to the actual interview setting. Now the interview will simply say that design a parking lot system. Now, what you will come up, as I have been telling in the previous videos as well, we enact the entire process. But considering we have time constraints in an interview, even though we are enacting it, but we are writing that in a point-wise manner. Now, about inaction and stuff, I'll highly recommend go and watch previous videos. But inaction simply says that, just imagine that you are a owner, and then as a owner whatever you will make sure, and then as a owner how you will enact the customer entry, customer stay, and customer exit. That is the inaction of the process, and inaction of the process is written as a point wise manner here. So basically the system should manage different vehicle types. Obviously, I know that bike will come, cycle will come, car will come, and so on and so forth. Again, like there are large size vehicles, there are small vehicles, there are limousines, and different kind of vehicles can come up. I should actually cater all of them. Vehicle will enter and exit after making the payments. So again, payments is a very important criteria here. Enter and exit, which means that vehicles should stay at a parking slot. Right? I can say a parking spot or a slot, both works. And I will assign as the person enters, and I should free that spot as the person exits. Again, the payment was very important, so payment must be completed before leaving, and I should make sure that my entire parking system should manage different vehicle sizes, or I should say different slot allocations efficiently. Now, you might or you should ask clarifying questions always to the interviewer. As I have been already mentioning in the previous videos, there are some uncertain, like as in, some open-ended interview questions or clarifying questions, and some closed-ended. Open-ended is that, is there any other core requirement which the interviewer is looking for? Closed-ended is that, okay, will there be multiple parking, slot types based on vehicle sizes? Again, why I am asking this is because if the person is not, much concerned about different slot sizes, maybe he might say, okay, no, just forget about it. Maybe he's concerned about concurrent booking of slots. Maybe that can be the case. Because again, you might say, Aryan, but will you cover the concurrent booking here? No, I will not. I will cover those in the later section when you will booking a movie booking system. It is also same. Imagine that instead of seats, you have parking spots to book, right? So all these, again, the best part is relating these problems with each other. They are kind of follow the same underlying principle. Booking something. Again, it can be booking of a stadium, booking of any movie, booking of any vehicle, booking of any parking spot. Anything can be booked, right? Okay, let's continue ahead. So again, that is why I'm saying that asking the core requirement is very important here, so that interviewer will tell what exactly he's looking for, because you are right now going ahead with a very, the approach which I didn't took, not necessarily this is what the interviewer is looking for, right? So okay, then next I could ask is that do you want to support multiple payment methods, which usually the interviewer will say 99% yes. Should the system track the parking duration? Again, this will be helpful just to know the parking fees. It is always tracked. You will always see a in time and out time, which ultimately tracks the parking duration in which how much you had been in the parking, because this actually helps us determine the parking fees ultimately. Again, parking fees determination can be variable, but still it helps a lot. Again, this is a very important core thing. Now, and again, there's very important thing, that is the multiple flows allowed in the parking lot. Because you will see that mostly, I'm not sure, but mostly you will see that in every mall you will have a multi-floor parking. Because it's very hard to get on, parking in one floor itself. Again, old times it was only one floor, but now as things are evolving, we have multi-floor parking. But again, the interview might say that he don't want multi-floor parking right now. So let's see what the interview says. Interview says, okay, I want different vehicle types. That's obviously for sure. I want different slot sizes as well based on the vehicle types. Then he's asking us that you should always allow multiple payment methods. Now we have to allow smooth entry and exit with accurate parking fee calculation. So we can just keep that parking fee calculation as variable. Now, whenever things are variable, as in it can, come up at runtime, I know that we have to use strategy design pattern. If you don't know, again, highly recommend go and check out strategy first, in the above section of our videos. Coming on back, now we realize that the candidate should sum up exactly what he told and also what interviewer asked him. So interviewer did not mention about multi-floor parking. So I should be good that I right now don't have to implement that, but I should still make sure that my code is extensible enough that in future it can actually cater that multi-floor parking as well. Now, I simply say that okay, I will have a parking lot with multiple slot types, and I will support all the different type of vehicles. I will allot the vehicles corresponding slots based on the size and all that stuff which I have. I will have payment processing of different payment types. I will give a ticket on entry and exit with some validations on payment itself. Now, with that in mind, again, usually there are two things. People end up jumping on either the actual class diagram or the core entities. So I am the person who jumps onto the core entities first, whatever I can think of right now. Again, the only catch here is whatever I can think of right now. That's a very important statement here. So I'll jump onto the core entities, whatever I can think of right now. Then I'll go on to the corresponding design patterns which I can integrate or incorporate in my corresponding current LLD problem. And with that, I might have few other classes and stuff which I can either show as a class diagram or just write them down, on a piece of paper that I will use these design patterns, and this is how they link with each other. Okay, so firstly, let's, with the help of as I have been always telling, with the help of your final observation, make your core entities, right? As you can see, that first entity will be a vehicle because you have to support different vehicle types. I have car, bike, truck. So it is same way saying I have furniture, then I have chair, table, and so on and so forth. So I can have a vehicle, which is abstract class. I will have car, bike, truck, and so on and so forth. So I will have a vehicle, which is a simply abstract class. It should have a license plate and let's say a vehicle type. Again, I always recommend that keep things very minimal. Keep things very minimal. Your task is to complete the problem in time and not just writing the getters and setters. So keep things minimal, just move on. Okay. Then I realized that okay, I will now you might also implement one of the car and say that car extends vehicle just so that that or the interview knows that you are in the same lines as what you wanted, or like he's in the same lines as what you want him to think. Now, obviously, you have this entire system, but it has a parking lot. That's the main thing, right? For the entire system. So I will obviously have a parking lot, which will be managing all the parking spots and obviously vehicle allocation. Vehicle I have already considered. Again, I will extend and make the hardcode vehicles like car, bike, and so on and so forth. But obviously, I will need a parking lot, which is the primary main thing for me. The parking lot will actually manage or handle all the parking slots. So, okay, parking slot is something which I should make. So I'll make a parking slot. Parking slot will simply say that, okay, a parking slot should be on the basis of vehicle type and if the parking slot is occupied or not. That's the two main primary thing which I could think of. Again, you might say, Aryan, I'll maintain other sizes like other entries like parking slot number and so on and so forth. Yes, you can maintain it. Obviously, in the real world scenario, you will have many more things in every such entity, but we should not in the beginning just put up everything. It will be very hard, confusing, and also you will waste time a lot. Now, anything else? So far, if we see that we have covered vehicle, we have covered the corresponding main parking lot. Parking lot will have parking spot or slot. And then one thing you will see that obviously you were shouting a lot about the payment system, or I should say payment strategy. So this was, your payment system, your payment processing, your payment strategy, whatever you want to say. So I can just say, okay, yeah, I will have a payment strategy which I should take care of. Now you might say, Aryan, technically you should discuss this while you're discussing your design patterns. Yes, let's do that. Okay. So firstly, I said that I will use strategy design pattern for payment and parking fee, right? So there are two things. Always, in literally every problem, you can include payment strategy, or I should say a strategy design pattern, because any of the problem you take, any of the problem, most of the problem, like file, let's say vending machine, let's say car rental system, let's say inventory management, let's say splitwise, let's say ATM machine, let's okay, ATM machine is something which it gives out money, but for every other, let's say vending machine, car rental, you will have to pay, right? You will have to pay via something. So in that case, that is kind of global stuff that okay, now you can actually implement payment strategy. And same way, as I was mentioning that in an airport, how much fare, how much fees, or how much price you actually incur, that is also very dynamic. It can be hourly, daily, monthly, and you have different kind of passes and fees for different parking times you actually stay at. And same way for payment, we know that we have cash, you pay debit card, credit card. So that's the reason I can use strategies in pattern for payment strategy and also my parking fees strategy, or you can say fee strategy. Fee strategy. Now, you can also use factory pattern for vehicle creation. Now you might say, Aryan, this is not a manufacturing unit that you are using factory to create vehicle. Yes, that is true. So technically, using factory to create vehicle might be overkill here, but still we can just tell and use it. Not a big deal, right? But again, as I mentioned, that technically you are incorporating a vehicle inside your parking spot. You don't have a manufacturing unit in which you are creating a vehicle. So technically it might sound a overkill that you are creating vehicle instances based on your factory, and as soon as they enter. But I okay, like it's still fine, even if you think it's overkill. Yes, okay, you can just maybe skip that. If you don't think, you can just mention that in an interview. Singleton, because we want just one parking lot management. Now you will see that we don't implement everything in an interview, right? I'm telling everything, but I will not implement everything, because again, if you want to see singleton implementation and all that, we have discussed in the earlier problems as well. Same thing we have discussed, right? So again, the entire essence is that we discuss the core things and implement the core things. We can keep these things as the extensibility portion if we want, but it will be very similar to the existing problems and how we implemented in the previous ones. Now, coming on that, we can have observer pattern as well, just so that when the person goes out, we can give an exit notification. Although you will see, usually we don't do it because we don't ask for a number, but in a very high-end parking, and we can ask for the phone number of a person, and whenever he exits or his car exits, we can give a notification. Okay, thank you for visiting, and so on and so forth. Now, you can see that we can use these 6 design patterns. Although you will see that in future, we will, again, when I say in future, I mean in the end, I will bring on builder as well, right? You will see why. You will also see that I'll again mention that that's overkill. But still, the entire essence of this is that you are telling and communicating how you can use different design patterns, but also at the same time that you have to implement the entire parking lot in time. So you will stick on to, let's say, 2 or 3. So I might stick on to these two, let's say factory and strategy, just for the parking fees and payment strategy, and also let's say to create the corresponding vehicles. Now let's go ahead with actual implementation. Now before implementation, you know that you have built up some core entities in the very beginning. You build vehicle, you build the parking lot, you build the parking spot, and then you also trying to build the payment strategy, but then you actually went on to the design patterns. Now, let's accumulate everything in one place and then we can go ahead. So, firstly, as I have always been telling in the last points as well, go from the bottom up approach. Bottom up approach says that break it down to individual components, whatever you know. So, I know that I will have a parking fee strategy. It can be a hourly fees, it can be a premium rate fees, and so on. So, this is my parking fee strategy, which is another group. Don't link it with anyone right now, just make it separately. Okay. Another one, as I mentioned, was my payment strategy. How I will pay. It will be cash payment or a credit card payment, and just I'm just getting corresponding payment. So this can be another group of Payment strategy design pattern. Another, as we mentioned, that we can have a corresponding vehicle factory for creating the corresponding vehicles which we have. So I will have a vehicle in which I can have a car, bike, and other vehicles. So this is a different segment. And this is exactly all, again, all these individual components we had seen just before itself. There's nothing new which I'm telling you right now. And again, I will simply use vehicle factory to actually create these vehicles. Now, as we also saw that we will have a parking spot, because obviously my parking lot will need a parking spot, and parking spot can be a different parking spot, it can be a car or a bike and so on and so forth. Now, this is exactly, again, these are a couple of design patterns which we saw or which we just read above, which we integrated, and these are a couple of entities which we also wrote. With that in mind, again, right now you will see that not necessarily I will make connections right now, but I know, okay, parking lot will have parking spots, parking spot will be of type bike or car, and then I will have a payment strategy which will be of let's say cash or credit card, and I will have vehicles of type, let's say car, bike, or other. I will have a parking fee strategy which will be, let's say, hourly or premium. So this is how I simply made them. Imagine, you can also imagine as individual component, or you can also imagine that, okay, I just made them and I could maybe link it somehow. Not necessarily you want to link it right now. Maybe you can start making the individual components as well. I usually go bottom up approach, which means I usually go from individual component itself. Let's say strategy, then building up factory, then building up corresponding parking spots, then building up corresponding payment, then finally going on to the parking lot, and then going on to my main function. Again, it's easy, it's much more beneficial if you run out of time as well. Now, coming on that let's strategy pattern we use it for, let's say, parking fare. As I mentioned, we could have used it for pricing, like this is for pricing strategy. I could have used for payment strategy as well. So okay, right now let's do it for this. Next time we'll do it for payment strategy as well. So parking calculation I will do. Again, it can be a basic rate or a premium rate. Now, how I will do it? I will have a simple interface, and then I will have a function saying calculate fee based on the different types. Again, you will see that I was mentioning that this is something which not necessarily is required duration type. You can keep it technically. I just only keep duration, but I can only keep duration in seconds or duration in minutes primarily, just to round off things. And I can keep on making this number bigger and bigger. But yeah, if you just want that, okay, just to show this number a bit smaller, you can just keep duration type, which is, let's say, hours or days. If you have exceeded 1 day, or then you will start counting as days rather than hours. Again, it's totally just if you want how good to look like. But even if you ignore this and keep this as, let's say, hours or even minutes, it's perfectly fine. Now, as we mentioned that we will have this corresponding parking fee strategy, so I'll just simply say, okay, I will have a basic hourly strategy, and then I will have calculate fee. Again, right now you don't have to Arin, should I implement this entire function? No, don't have time for all this. Just write maybe one line. Let's say only you can write the print statement as well. That is also perfectly fine. Here, although the logic is that, okay, if it's hourly rate, then I have said that just give the hourly rate, or the, let's say, give the daily rate. That's it. Again, I kept it very simple. This logic will be different and complex. So don't go into internal logic here. No, not required. The only thing was that you had a basic hourly rate, and then you have a calculate fee, which will calculate fee on the basic hourly rate. Then another, I could have a premium rate. It will also have the same function. Again, forget about the internal logic. It's just that it will simply give you the corresponding fee. Now, now comes another design pattern. Let's use now factory for creating my vehicles. As I mentioned, this would not be required. It might be overkill, but still no harm just to tell and implemented that creation design pattern here. Primarily, it will help us to ensure consistent object creation and also extending new vehicle types in future. But to even make vehicles, we will write the vehicle abstract class, which we, if you remember, we wrote in the very beginning. If you remember, in the very beginning, we wrote the vehicle entity. We wrote the same thing here. It's just that now we know that each vehicle will have its own parking fee strategy, because obviously we know that each vehicle will have its own corresponding parking fee strategy. I'll just inject that here. and say, okay, bro, this is the corresponding fee strategy for this specific vehicle. Let's say, again, this is abstract class. I will make its concrete classes as well, but okay. And obviously, this is what we saw last time as well, that every vehicle will have a license plate and the vehicle type. Now, come on to the actual concrete vehicle. I will have a car vehicle. I'll just simply say car, and then I'll pass in just to the, my parent itself. Same way, I can have a bike vehicle as well. I will just pass in everything to my parent as well. Same way. Again, you can have any other vehicle as well, just passing the same thing. Again, just to show that extensibility portion I've shown you. Not necessarily you will implement that. I'll highly recommend. Don't write even this or this. Just write one of them. Just write, let's say, car, and then go, move on. You don't have time to unnecessarily write bike or other. No, just verbally tell and move on. Now, obviously, I wanted my vehicle factory to actually create vehicles. So I'll just simply say vehicle factory will help me create vehicles based on the vehicle type. If, okay, let's say if it's a car, I will have, let's say, I can give our hardcore strategy here as well. But okay, I have passed in the strategy whenever I want to create a vehicle. I'll just pass that specific strategy here for each vehicle type, whatever I want. Cool. And with that in mind, I will simply use my factory to just create my corresponding new vehicles with their corresponding strategies, these strategies. Now, we already saw my pricing strategy. Let's also see payment strategy. Right? Simple strategy, a strategy design pattern. Either I can use cash, credit card, PayPal, UPI, and so on and so forth. So I will simply have again a payment strategy, which will say process payment. Now I will, let's say, implement the core cash payment or a credit card payment. Again, I'll highly recommend implement only one, and move on in an interview. Now, what I will do, I will simply say that, bro, process the payment, and with that, again, I've just written a simple logic, a simple S out, because I don't want to deep dive into this internal logic itself. Simply ignore the logic. Same way, I'll just write credit card payment as a core payment, and I'll just write something in S out, and I'll move on. Now, we are actually doing all that, but technically, okay, these are the payment strategies, but payment strategy for what? For a payment. So for a payment, I need what is the corresponding amount and the payment strategy. Now, in that place, you can bring up, your ticket or a booking, anything you can bring up in this terms, that for a specific amount which you had to pay, and for what payment strategy, you can rename this as, let's say, okay, I'll say this is a ticket price, or maybe XYZ stuff as well. It's totally up to you how you want to rename stuff. Now, in that, I'll simply say, bro, just go and process the payment for this specific ticket, or this for this specific payment. Just go and process it. So I'll just simply go and process that specific stuff. Now what? Again, if you remember, we have covered what? We have covered pricing strategy. We have covered payment strategy, right? We have covered factory for vehicle creation. We have covered factory. We have covered vehicle creation. We have covered the actual concrete vehicles as well, bike, car, and truck. Now what else? Now let's come on to the core thing. Core thing was parking lot, which had parking spots. So I'll use the same thing. So I came onto the core thing, which is the parking spot. Parking spot will have its own thing. Let's say a spot number is occupied, vehicle, and the corresponding spot type. If you remember the very beginning, we just had few entities, like few attributes to it. But as I know, okay, let's say if we want to keep more attributes, I will just add on these attributes in future. That's the thing, that you're appending things as you're moving forward. Now, for parking spot, I'll simply say, bro, is the parking spot occupied or not? What is the vehicle standing on the parking spot? Like what is the corresponding spot type, because we remembered that vehicle will have a spot type linkage kind of, right? And then giving a spot number, so as a unique identifier for any spot. Here I will primarily have a function called as park vehicles, because on a spot I can park a vehicle. I'll simply check if it's occupied or not. If I can park a vehicle there, now here can park a vehicle is nothing but a simple function, and here I'm passing in the vehicle. So I'm passing in the vehicle and I'm asking, can I park the vehicle? Now, this can I park the vehicle is not based on occupancy. It's primarily would be some other logic, based on the vehicle size, vehicle type, and so on and so forth, which I will ask my child parking spots. Now, you might ask, Aaron, what is child parking spots? Is it required? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But yes, if we want to keep the code extensible, we can say that car will have its own logic of can park vehicle, because see, cars are within 4 meters, beyond 4 meters, and there are different categories of cars as well. So I can incorporate that logic of can park vehicle on that specific parking spot. I can incorporate that logic in the corresponding car parking spot subclass. That is the reason it was made abstract. Cool. Again, as I mentioned, if you are in a crunch of time in an interview, you can skip that being abstract. You can keep a parking spot class and you can proceed ahead as well. Verbally, you can tell the interviewer that this is the idea behind keeping it abstract and this is the idea that I want to extend my corresponding class. But again, it's totally that how much time you have left in an interview. Now, here I will simply say that, bro, this is the can park vehicle, and if I cannot park, I will just give an illegal argument exception. Although in an interview, you can just write it down a simple statement as well, a out statement as well. You might see I have, thrown exceptions and stuff. Okay, it's fine. Although it's always a good practice to do through exceptions rather than just printing out errors. But again, it's kind of a business use case, that how you want to handle things. But yeah, if I want to vacate a parking spot, I have a vacate function, and that's it. Like primarily, I will have this can park vehicle, which my different subclasses. Let's say my car parking spot will implement this, which like override this specific method, and will say that right now the logic is very straightforward and simple. That if the vehicle type is car for a car parking spot, I can park it. But again, as I mentioned, based on different type of cars, because in cars also you have different type of cars, big, small, very small, and maybe autos also can come in the cars category, and so on and so forth. You can incorporate that logic of can park vehicle here. Now, same way, I can do the same thing for a bike parking spot, which will obviously extend my parking spot class. Now, is there anything else remaining? Yes, obviously, yes, because we have now covered, if I go back, we have now covered the parking spot. Now the parking lot is remaining. Let's go on to parking lot. So I'll go on to the parking lot and we'll say that parking lot is built up of parking spots. Now, right now, as we said that there are no flows as such. In future, if we have flows, then parking lot is built up of parking flows, where parking flows are individually built up of parking spots. That's how we can extend that thing in future. If you want, you could have made a like separate class for it, maybe using composition that are in. I will say that like the way we have discussed previously, that a house is built up of rooms, a rooms is built up of appliances, and appliances, if I do a off or on, it can actually work. Maybe you can say Rn, a floor is built up of slots, a slot is built up of, let's say a multi-floor is built up of floors is built up of spots. So I can also maybe incorporate the same logic. But again, it's totally up to your liberty if you how you want to integrate that. Primarily, it's already too long for an interview and for you to write the entire code. So you can just verbally tell all these things, not necessarily implement it. Now, here we just simply said, okay, I will have different parking spots in a parking lot, and that I will have simple things that a parking lot, I should be able to find available parking spots. I should be able to park my vehicle. Again, technically, internally, I will simply go and check individual spots and ask for them being occupied or not. You might say, Aaron, this is not a good DSA practice. Yes, it's a LLD question or a DSA question. So if you want to learn DSA, just go and check out the main channel, Aaron Mittal. You'll get the entire DSA questions. But here, in these problems, we focus on LLD. It's a very bad practice to iterate on that and return that every operation is O of n, which can be done in O of one time or maybe O of log n time. But again, here we're not concerned about time complexity as such. If the interview is concerned, maybe you can change it to using, a set or a two priority queues. Maybe even keeping two hash maps also would work in that case. Now, next was to park a vehicle. I'll just simply find the slot and I will simply park the corresponding vehicle, whatever I have. Simply park the vehicle. Same way, I will have a vacate spot. I will simply call my spot and will vacate the corresponding spot. I can have a spot get spot by number because I know that every spot now has a corresponding spot number. I can get that as well. Now again, you might say, Aaron, why iteration? Why can't hash map? Yes, as I mentioned, this is not DSA centric. Now, coming on that, I have literally done everything. Let's now compile down as a main function. So I'll just write up my main function in which firstly I will add some parking spots. You will see I have added a couple of cars and couple of bike parking spots. Then I will initialize my parking lot, which will be built up of parking spots. And then I know that I will have a car one and a bike one coming in. As the customers are coming in, I will give them, let's say, different strategies, different pricing strategies for now. And then I will get a car and a bike parking spot for a car one and a bike one. And then when they're about to exit, I will simply calculate the corresponding car fee, get the payment strategy whatever he is asking for doing a payment of. And then again, I obviously know that I have passed in a hourly rate fees strategy. I will calculate the fees for it, and same way I can do the same thing for a bike. Then I will process the payment and I will vacate that specific spot. Although you can do this logic in a different class as well, just say entry and exit. On exit, you should do all these processes. You can have another method in parking lot which will process the payment and automatically handles the vacation of the spot. Again, you have done it here as well. No worries as such because you have already covered a lot of things. As I always mention that these things are literally, you can just pinpoint out many things in here, and this can keep on improving because it's a 45 minutes code, not a 45 days code. Now, lastly, again, you will see that I have done a get payment strategy just so that, for whatever payment method I have, you are just getting the corresponding payment strategy, whatever you want to do. You can actually build a factory out of this as well. But okay, just written the same thing here. Now, the best part is explaining or telling verbally everything, whatever caveats, whatever nuances you think of, just telling verbally everything, and also making sure that you're communicative enough that if the interviewer wants you to stick to a specific thing or to show a specific thing, you can showcase that thing to him. Writing whatever you know is not what the interviewer is looking for. Telling everything and writing whatever he wants you to do, that is what the interviewer is looking for. Now, going on to the extensibility portion, which is very highly asked in interviews, is multi-floor parking. Okay, right now, as I mentioned, I have used builder pattern here just for actually building the corresponding thing, but not necessarily required builder pattern here. Why? You will see how. But if you want to know about builder pattern and all that, just I'll highly recommend go and check out. Go and check out the earlier videos for us. Now, I will simply say that, bro, parking lot will now actually, rather than using parking flows directly, so yeah, it can use a parking flow directly. Parking floor will actually use parking spots, and to build up, right? To build and add my corresponding flows, I will use parking lot builder. Now, it might sound overkill to use builder here. Yes, it is. And why, I will tell that as well. Now, let's see first that how will my parking flow look like, because this is a new entity. Now I have parking floor, which is kind of a new thing here right now. If I have a parking floor, I'll say that, bro, find me available spots. Inside a parking floor, find me available spots for a specific vehicle type. Simply iterating on all these spots or slots on that specific floor, whichever I have, and then returning the empty one, right? Same way, why I would have used a builder, as I was mentioning that primarily I'm looking for building, as in, right? I'm looking for, if I go up, yeah, I'm looking for building and adding flows, right? So what I will do here, I will say that create a floor, add a floor. So in the very beginning itself, whenever I'm building up my parking lot, I will build up by individual floors. Each floor will have a floor number, will have number of bike spots, number of car spots, number of other spots. Another floor will have its own floor number. Let's say floor number 2, it's floor number 1. If it will have its own number of bike spots, car spots, and other spots. Usually, if you know or if you don't know, for the closest floor, we have higher number of bike spots, and for the farther floors, we have higher number of car spots. Because car usually are good to travel downwards. Let's say if I say there's a underground multi-floor parking, so in that case, I will highly, you will usually see. I'm not sure how close you are with parking. I'm also not that much close, but I have seen many parkings in malls in my firm as well. We had multi-floor parking, and usually what happens is that on the very first level, you will see taxi parkings. On the next level, you will see bike parkings. On the next level, you will see car parkings, and there's never a truck parking I have seen inside these. But yeah, this is how it actually goes about, right? So this is that each and every floor will have different number of bike, car, and other vehicle parking itself for it. So that's the reason I have added that you will create a floor. Whenever I say create a floor, which means create a floor with these entities, as you can see, floor number, number of car spots, bike spots, and again, you might say, Aaron, I can also make this as builder. Yes, you can do it. Which means you can have another builder which will incorporate, add car, add bike, then add other. That also can happen. Rather than having it as a constructor, it would have been better if I would have added them individually. Dot add car spots, dot add bike spots, dot add other spots. This would have been much better, right? But again, the idea here is just to showcase how exactly you can use builder. Cool. Now I can create a floor by adding different spots to it. It's a simple logic of just, correspondingly creating a floor by adding different number of spots. Then when I have created a floor, I'll just add that floor onto my corresponding parking lot. And ultimately, you know that whenever we complete a builder, we just always keep on returning the builder itself. But whenever I call a build function, then at that time, I actually make a new parking lot with all these floors. Now, each individual floor will have its own configuration of corresponding number of bikes, cars, and so on and so forth. Now, what will happen? I'll simply say that, bro, for a parking lot, now we have parking flows in consideration. When I have to find the available parking spot, I will iterate on the parking flows, and individual parking flows will have its own find available parking spot function. Now you might say, Aryan, this is not extensible. You have changed a lot of code. Yes, that's what I was mentioning in the previous thing, that you can actually incorporate the logic such that is extensible by using different design pattern, as we mentioned earlier. But again, as we say, that just communicate with the interviewer, because it is hard to do every fucking thing in an interview, but it is easy to tell at least. Now, let's proceed forward. This is the only thing which we would see primarily as a change. Rest all would remain same. Now, whenever I'm calling a main function, you will see here I'm actually showcasing a builder primarily being used. That for my parking lot builder, I'm creating a floor. This is the first floor, it's the second floor, and then I'll call a build function. This will build a parking lot for me, and rest all I can just apply the same logic. Now, again, as I mentioned, that you could have split it down to individual floor making also as a builder. Totally your choice. And you could have done that, and I highly recommend go and communicate that in an interview. Now, lastly, after so much 45 minutes, we are able to get a well structured, again, scalable architecture. It is not necessarily what we have written, not necessarily very highly scalable, but whatever we are told verbally will be obviously for sure. Now it's model extensible, and we have primarily incorporated multi-flow parking, new vehicle types, multiple payment and pricing methods, giving it a lot of maintainability and flexibility. Cool. I hope you guys liked it. Again, it's a very good problem, primarily asked in interviews. And let's make sure that with the like target of 250 likes, See you next video then. Goodbye. Take care. And this is done. Bye bye.